everybody. It's Marilyn Wilson here today, president of RE Technology, and I'm here with one of my absolute favorite friends and MLS colleagues, Ives. If you haven't met her, you definitely should try to. She's got a lot of great things to contribute and has a ton of passion for our industry. And this is one of just several of the interviews in the Tech Titans series. So if you like what you see here, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe because we're going to be doing lots of these with lots of really interesting and smart people like Annie. So with that, welcome, Annie. Great to see you today.
Thanks. Nice seeing you too.
So we're just going to jump right in because I don't want to waste any time. There's so many things that you can teach us about. So first, I always like to just tell us about your background. And it's always interesting to me to find out how someone became the CEO of an MLS and your organization called the MLS, which I love too. So tell us about that. How'd you get where you are?
I think it was kind of meant to be. I just got my degrees at Cal State Northridge, and actually I wanted to become a CPA, and I was taking a few classes to get my CPA certification. But there was an ad in Los Angeles Times, and the office was located right behind my house, and my kids were still a little small, right? And so I told my husband, I said, oh, maybe I should try and walk, So sure enough, I walk in, and this wonderful lady, Lorraine, looked at me and say, oh, okay, when can you start? And I said, well, whenever you want, I can start. And I started by doing the accounting for them. Actually,
okay.
No computerized accounting. They had bags of cash sitting around. And there was, it was kind of an unreal. Anyways, two people, the CEO, Lorraine Borneo, and another lady working in about less than 1,000 square feet. And they were sharing the space with the Beverly Hills Association of Realtors at the time. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I started working for them, and then we were moved to another location in the same building as the Los Angeles Association Board of Realtors. They owned the building at that time. And so we moved into another 1,000 square feet, and I continued doing accounting for them. And then the position came up because they were not going to renew Lorraine's contract. I applied to it, but I didn't get the job. Actually, the president wanted to fire me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So anyway, during the weekend. I spoke to my husband. Well, a lot of politics, as you know, but it's still going on. So I told my husband, I said, I'm going to quit. I just don't want to work for those people. They're horrible people. But anyway, so I quit. So I went to work for another company, and I was doing accounting for a few companies on my own. And then I received a few calls from them to come back, and I didn't want to come back. But then one day I get a call from the vice president of the MLS, or Claude at that point. And he invited me to meet with him at his office on a Friday afternoon. And then so he informed me that the two large brokers, Fred Sand at the time and John Douglas, got together and started their own MLS, CLS, and that everyone who was working for Claw went to work for the competition. So the door were closed, and they asked me if I could take 2 weeks off from my job, which I really didn't have really such a job. I could take off whenever I wanted. They say, well, you have two options: or write a refund check for the leftover membership, which was 1,700 members at the time, or you just do what you can, whatever. So they said, you come Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock, I give you the keys. So I went, I got the keys. I walked in, so there's no one there, but thank God I had a lot of experience, because while doing the accounting, because we were only 3 people, I got very much a lot of experience of running the company. So I knew, anyway, so I walked in by myself. I think I worked almost 24/7 on my own. I started hiring temporary employees. And for one thing and the other, and I had a company called Boris. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Anyway, and this wonderful lady, Lisa Powell, she used to manage, she was in the same building as us, and she managed a site. So we had like a full service site. They did help desk and training and everything for us. And actually, we both together, we went from offices to offices, carrying those huge projector and a screen, and we went and we showed our system, Boris system, versus it was the I think it was the Inter-Realty system that they were using, which was not a good system at the time. And so we went from office to office, and then we started the book. I started the book again, and people came and picked up a book. And for one thing and the others, they tried to sue me, told me that I was not supposed to be at the office. You know, the president who wanted to fire me was in cahoots with John Douglas attorney. So I got so many calls. So I said, well, should I come back to work? Should I not come back to work? And I said, well, what do I have to lose? You know, let them sue me. Anyway, from one thing to another, the competition went out of business a year later. So, and we restarted the company, and the rest is history, I guess. That's what I think.
That's a story. I never heard that. That's
That was in 1995. And
so thanks for sharing that. It's always fun to hear where these companies come
yeah,
from.
so I think it was, you know, meant to be, I don't know, for one reason or another.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears, and actually that's actually a good segue what you just were talking about. Because you've literally built it from the ground up. What do you think is the recipe for a successful MLS?
I think it's to have its own destiny, to be independent, to, you know, I dealt with a couple of MLS vendors, and the problems that we had is responsiveness. You know, I think that by having your own technologies, you do not depend, you're not one of 200 customer waiting for something to be fixed or waiting for any kind of innovation. If, you know, and having our help desk, we listen to the agent. We have meetings every Friday. We go over the calls. We send survey right after each call. So we review everything that went on during the week, and the do's and the don'ts, and the bugs fixing. So we prioritize that. And I just feel that for me, having my own help desk, my own training staff, my own technical team is totally, I wouldn't be able to do it without it, and just depend on the third party. But again, we do license for third party softwares like CMA Cloud and different softwares that we don't have. We cannot do everything in-house.
Right.
But at least the majority is from, you know, in-house. So I think that's one of the elements. Also, I think us having data shares with most of Southern California and some in Northern California is a great benefit and advantage to our members. They have an MLS of choice. They don't have to belong to multiple MLSs. Even for the brokers, they can get one feed. I mean, that's a great advantage for agents. So, you know, if they like my front end better than the other front end, you know, they can come and use our system. Actually, about 35% or more of our membership comes from the MLSs that we data share with. So yeah, and all the new members. I mean, we constantly have new members from all the other areas. So
that's amazing. That says a lot. And you know, it's interesting because you're right. I mean, you are one of relatively few MLSs these days that build their own software. As you know, there used to be a lot more that did that. But what I also hear you say, and I know just because I know you and your team, it's not just about the software. It's also about staying close to your customer and listening to what they're asking for and advocating for their rights and things like that, right? It's the software helps you, but you can have a lot of that same attitude without actually owning all of your own software too.
Right. Well, yeah, as I said, we meet once a week, and each manager gives a report and we go over what went on and, we act on it, right away. We don't wait, days and we can change our priorities as well. I mean, I am responsible. I am responsible for that because sometimes, we have this plan of action and then something comes up in the industry or, and you have to change your plan of action. You have to be, able to do that. And I think that, us, having everything in house, allow us to be, to do that. So.
For sure. So, just want to pick up where we left off. So, so Annie, as you know, obviously the industry has had a lot of things happen to it recently with lawsuits and DOJ statements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Most of which looks like we're going toward the place where MLSs will no longer be able to offer compensation, right? The cooperation and compensation will just become cooperation. What's what are you thinking about, or what advice do you have for others about how do you make sure your MLS stays just as vital, just as relevant, just as exciting when you remove that component of compensation out from under?
I mean, I know that the goal for an MLS was cooperation. I mean, that was a role that they play, and I guess it was supposed to be the primary role for an MLS. So things are going to change. They're going to change. I don't think things are going to change for an MLS. I think that for buyer's agent and business will be different. But I feel that as an MLS, we create an orderly marketplace. And like in Europe, where you can enter the listing multiple times with different list price, because of our compliance, because of our data management, we provide the consumer, the agent, brokers, clean data, accurate data. We provide a marketing platform for them. We provide, actually, I was reviewing the list track stats that, because we do use list track. And it shows, which is very interesting, that the MLS guest site, for example, has more safe searches than Zillow or any of the other portal. That the MLS Vesta Plus, which is our proprietary software, provide more leads, more views than Zillow and the other portals. So for me, my goal right now is to revamp our guest site. I want the communication to be better between the consumer and the agent. We want to provide tools for the consumer to be able to connect with our agent. For example, we have a new app, and one of the features that we have is the easy communication between an agent and a consumer. So I think that we need not, because, primary, our role was to provide services to our agent, to our members. But I think that now we have to go beyond and provide services to the consumer in order to help our agent being able to communicate and to still be relevant. So I think that we can, I think that the MLS, in the opposite, I think it will play a greater role for the industry. And I think it's up to us to provide the tools and for our agents and for them to survive and for us to survive. So I think that the MLS will survive. I think in the opposite, it will become we will play a more important role. But it's up to us to become more relevant. We cannot sit and wait for things to happen and rely on, NAR and CAR and whatever. We can't rely on anyone. We have to rely on ourselves. So I feel that's my take on it.
Well, it's interesting because I totally agree with you. I think there's a component of business generation, and List Track's a great way to track that, as you said. And so many of the tools that MLSs offer actually help both buyers agents and sellers agents become more productive and more helpful and better customer servants, right? So leaning more in on really a lot of the core services that already exist makes a lot of sense. One thing that that you touched on briefly that I'd like to talk more about is data, right? So at the end of the day, that it really is the core asset of an MLS. It's the comprehensiveness of its data, the freshness, the cleanness, the transparency of it, where it can be populated, who can leverage it, how that gets controlled, and things like that. So in your mind, today, I know this has already been a priority for you, but what are the best practices in your mind to help brokers really fully leverage that great collection of data that MLSs have curated over the years?
Well, for us, we used to use a software from a vendor to help us with compliance.
Mhm.
And my compliance team was not happy with all the features that it was offering, and they felt this thing was missing and so on. So we decided to have them put together the specification for software, for compliance software, and build it ourselves. And the software is called Checkmate. And it's something that it's constantly in progress.
Mhm.
We add to it, we customize it, and I guess some other MLS association, we did some demos for some of them and like it better than what the MLS vendor, are offering at this point. And one other thing is because we do customize it to the MLS and to the associations. They may not have the same rules. They may not have the same policy and way of doing, compliance. For us, we are not after collecting money. We are after, accuracy of data. We want to help the agent, make the data more accurate. So we do not collect. Some other MLS and association have different goals. They want to collect money and they want their data to be, they are much stricter. We are not that much stricter. Our purpose is to have accurate data. So I felt that with Checkmate, we really did increase the accuracy and of the data. And also my team is more efficient in compliance. And as I say, whenever there's something that they think it's missing, we are here to add to it, and we don't have to wait for an MLS vendor to tell us, will be in the next build or, 3 months or a year later. So I think that by us taking it into our hands, we improved data accuracy a lot. So that's what we have been doing. So
That's awesome. So how, with an MLS that, whether they're using Checkmate or, another product or doing it on their own, how do you think that they can take credit for that quality of the data? Because it is a really important component and probably the most important component of MLSs. But how do we agents just not take that for granted that, well, of course the MLS just does this for us? Do you have any suggestions on how to take better credit for the work that you're doing?
First of all, a lot of the violations are reported by agents themselves. And what we do is we respond to the agent. We let them know what step we took to have the data corrected, that we sent the violation to the agent, and what is the status of a violation. I mean, we just not take a call and say, okay, fine, we're going to do it ourselves. We're going to send a violation notice. No, we go back to the agent. And again, it's anonymous. We never, reveal the name of the agent, but we go back to the agent and we just tell them what happened, and it's been corrected. And so I think the agent like working with us because they do report violation and we take action on it. We just don't sit on it, and we go all the way. We just don't just send the violation and wait for it to happen. We have a whole routine of how many first violation, second violation. And I think that even though I think brokers and agents don't express it publicly, that, I think that they know that we do a great job with data accuracy. So, they want to get the feed from us. They don't want to get it from a third party. They wanted to get it directly from us. So I think it speaks for itself, and I know that they value the data management that we do for them. So
It's interesting. You know, the group that you've participated in, the Wave Group Customer Experience Index survey, we find that MLSs do get good credit. I agree with you for the quality of the data that they curate on behalf of all of them. But we do see sometimes, and not in your market, but we've seen it in some markets where compliance issues, so let's call them issues / concerns / problems, can sometimes have a negative impact on the overall satisfaction of the MLS if they're not handled properly. So do you have any suggestions about that, about how do you sort of make the two things work together, that people know that you're curating high quality data on their behalf and that you're not trying to be punitive, but you're really trying to help them have better.
it's a fine line. I mean, I know, like, just recently we had an example. Someone was in violation of a clear cooperation. So we send the violation, and it's pretty hefty violation fee.
Right.
They send another letter saying, "Oh, I owe fiduciary duty to my seller, and my seller, they were marketing the listing
Right.
without being on the MLS, and my seller is asking me to have the listing, off the MLS, and you're not doing your business, and you're preventing us from doing business." And my seller, it's like there is a fine line, because some of them do not want to comply. They want to do whatever they want to do. And so for me, I would say it's minority. Most of them, comply, specifically because we don't do it really to collect fines.
Right.
We help them, so I know, I mean, for us, we haven't received so many, bad calls on it, or complaints, but we do get some, nobody, they're not going to be happy. Some of them, I mean, you're never in any kind of business, you're not going to find everybody happy with what you're offering. So, so we try to balance what we do and how we handle them, and that's it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a fine balance, but I think what I'm hearing you say is your focus is on accurate data. Your focus is not on collecting fines revenue.
Right.
If your focus is truly to treat this as a revenue stream, sometimes that's where I see people get in trouble. It's like, yes, you want accurate data, but you don't want to ever budget for fines revenue, and some people do. So that might be part of the issue.
Yeah, we don't have a very large budget for compliance.
Yeah. So let's ask a different question. With all of the issues happening now with the lawsuits and things, and I would argue that one of the best things that MLSs do, and especially those involved with data shares like you are, they truly create an amazing amount of transparency to a consumer looking for a property, in your case, anywhere in Southern California, parts of Northern California. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of listings that are, involved in those things. But do you have any suggestions about what an MLS could do to sort of take credit? Right now, I think we all have a little bit of a pallor over the industry's got a pallor over it because of the lawsuits and the way the press has sort of covered it, not so perfectly. But are there things that we can do, do you think, where we can help consumers understand the value of the high quality data, and most importantly, the transparency we're providing to them?
Well, for example, what I started doing, we have Los Angeles Times has a Sunday magazine, and as I say, I just looked at the list track statistic, and I found it very interesting that, as I said, that we generate more lead, more views. So we are placing ads in Los Angeles Times magazine, so the consumer can see the value of the MLS, that not only do we provide data and transparency, but also that we provide a lot of lead and exposure for the consumer listing. So I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of have how would I say? I mean, we're trying to to show the consumer our value. So we will be placing different ads, in Los Angeles Times, for example, as well as in our magazine. We publish a weekly high-end magazine, so our agent also can understand what they get for their money, which is, I mean, to say, I don't know any business that costs as little as joining the MLS and generate revenue like we do. I understand that only 20% of our membership really makes money, and the rest of them, they, I don't know, they're there just for that. But anyway, so we have to show our value. We have to use any tools or any stats that we have to show our value and to remind our agent what we do for them. So I think it's up to us to really show our value, and that's what I've been starting to do right now.
Yeah, one thing we didn't mention, I probably should have up front, is that Annie services the Beverly Hills area, the Malibu area, and other areas, but lots of luxury real estate and agents that, of course, are very professional and very high end themselves. So it takes a lot to service them to the level that I know that you guys do. So it's good.
High maintenance, but
yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah, you could say it. But you know what? They're nice people. I just want to say that I very, very, very rarely get an angry call from one of my members.
That's awesome.
My phone never rings because my staff is able to handle all the calls. Very, very rare when I get a call. But so I just feel that, we need to improve what we're doing. We need to do more marketing. We need to show them our value. And you know what? Interestingly enough, I thought that people were not going to continue joining and everything else, but we have 10, 13, 20 people joining every day.
Wow. Even now.
Even now. And inactive people, because we started our billing in March, and we have, I have a certain number of members in my budget. My budget is based on a certain number of members. So we already reached it. And, my billing cycle goes until August 31st. And I think we're going to be well over our budget. And I see people, even inactive people, coming back and paying. So
people that say real estate's over, I mean, some of the quote predictions from the media, half of realtors are going to leave the industry. I just don't fundamentally believe a lot of that personally, but that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm not. Doesn't sound like I am based on what you just said. So that's a good thing.
Well, one interesting, some company are calling us to say, can we join the MLS without joining the association?
Mm-hmm.
And we say yes. So that's another thing that could happen. But I still feel that they find value in the MLS. And
I think so too. So just to wrap all of this up, in your words, what do you think an MLS should be thinking about right now? Number one, to make sure that their data is as high quality as it can be, and that they're going to continue to be relevant and meaningful for many years to come.
Well, what would I say is license checkmate.
Oh, that's a good answer. Okay.
No, but anyway, objectively, I think you have to continue what you've been doing all that time, but do it better. And as I say, market yourself. Show your value constantly in any way, shape, or form, and do what you do better. Add innovation, technical innovation. Improve. For example, with us, we always improve our technologies. We always look at innovation, anything to help the agent. And for example, an agent doesn't have to go and buy showing time or buy statistic module, software, or it's all part of our own software. So we have, we're building our own CMA, and you know, we, so that's what we're doing, I think, to be relevant.
Well, I know that you are very relevant. We've seen your customer satisfaction scores and they're always off the charts. We hear testimonials, unsolicited testimonials from brokers all the time about the service and support that they get from you. So great job. She's one of the models. For those of you who don't know her, definitely get to know her. Thank you so much. So we'll be publishing, like I say, this Tech Titans along with many others. Annie really is a Tech Titan. She is a champion of the cause. A cause of agent productivity, broker success, flexibility to make sure brokers get what they need, and in a very, very, very competitive market in California. Many MLSs, but of course, millions of agents out there as well. So thank you so much for what you do. And more to come. I can't wait to see how Checkmate and the other products that you have roll out.
All right, thanks, Marilyn. I really appreciate it. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Okay, bye-bye.